Hello. Nice to see everyone today. I feel like this session should be named Cringe on the Clock because that is what LinkedIn has been kind of coined as of late. But we're about to remove all the cringe, okay? So I'm really excited to be here with both of you because I've worked with the both of you in different capacities as an influencer on LinkedIn. Yes, there are influencers on LinkedIn, y'all. That's a real thing, okay? So I'm really excited to hear about the journeys that you have both taken at Lyft and at Notion to kind of get to a place where you see LinkedIn as an opportunity for your brands. So we're gonna start out very conversational, so let's kind of hit the ground running. So at what point did either of you internally recognize that there was an opportunity to build your brands on LinkedIn through some sort of influencer marketing in the B2B space?
Yeah, around 2.5 years ago, I like to say that we were a little ahead of the curve on the LinkedIn influencer game, but we essentially were tasked by our team to get more awareness for teams' use cases of Notion. So of course, the first thought was, let's go to LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn was just starting to become a platform where people were posting more thought leader content versus just looking for a job. But it was actually funny. Again, this was only 2.5 years ago, so it's a testament to see how far the platform has come in that time. We would reach out to people on LinkedIn and they would say, you want me to do what? You're gonna pay me to do what on LinkedIn? But we saw a lot of success, and then just as the platform has grown in popularity with content creators, we've also seen a rise in success for awareness. So yeah, it's kind of been fun to watch how all of these different creators are popping up, being able to support them on their journey of growth, but then also being able to fit Notion into their various use cases that they talk about on the platform.
Absolutely. Hi everyone, I'm Anya. I lead influencer for Lyft, and it was a little bit more recent for us, I would say about a year ago. We have a lot of individuals who are on our team internally that have a presence themselves, and we started to notice about 12 months ago that people were becoming more comfortable on LinkedIn to share some of, not just thought leadership, but more of their personality. I think you recently reposted someone's post that said, what are people gonna do when they realize we're not talking about work on here anymore? And to us, that was indicative that people's communities on LinkedIn were not just their own following or social graph, but people are entertaining each other on there. So once we had that sort of indicator that communities were starting to form, people were posting content, not necessarily for content's sake, but not just to brag about a new job anymore. That was a sign that we wanted to test and learn in that space for us.
I think this is a great segue because both of your brands are so vastly different, right? And that is indicative of the type of culture that LinkedIn has built and content creators have built over time. So especially for you, Anya, at Lyft, how did you find that intersection between a commuter brand like Lyft and what sort of content could be shared on LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, Lyft is a very values-driven brand, and for us, it's not just about commuting, it's about your journey. So there's so many touch points, like everyone has probably used our product, and our CEO actually drives about every 6 weeks himself and shares that on LinkedIn. So for us, there's so many different intersections, facets of our brand where we can find storytelling. I think to be like a anchor for creators on LinkedIn, I think storytelling really thrives on LinkedIn. It's one of the few social media platforms where static written content is experiencing more virality, more engagement than video content right now. So as a brand that focuses on people, on our customers and their experience, there's actually a lot of natural fit there just beyond commute.
I love it. So it sounds like your CEO is also a LinkedIn influencer.
I think he would probably say so, yes.
Perfect. Okay, so what makes LinkedIn influencers or thought leaders different from other creators? Because I know you both also work with creators across other platforms as well. So how are you structuring these partnerships differently than you would with a creator on TikTok or Instagram?
Yeah, I think for context, at Notion, we partner with creators basically on every platform. YouTube, LinkedIn are probably now our primary platforms that we partner with creators on. And my philosophy on sharing Notion with the world is really, let's get as many use cases out there as possible. So I really do think at the root, when we approach partnerships on LinkedIn, it's very much the same. I ask the creator, how are you using Notion? What workflows are you using it for? How is it making your productivity or your life better? And really leading the content from there. I think it's just the way that the stories come to life are a bit different on LinkedIn. So having the flexibility to do photo, video, and text is also great. Also, I think when it comes down to a LinkedIn partnership, there is a lot of noise on the platform now, and I always try to think of ways that we can offer resources and actual value to our our audiences. Whereas on YouTube, there is value. It's sometimes just more entertainment than sharing out a research report findings on LinkedIn. But again, really always thinking on what are your actual real life use cases, and how can we offer a resource to the community on LinkedIn that will make their work or personal lives better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is the key difference. People are still going on LinkedIn to learn something. You need to offer something of value to your audience on there, whereas on our other platforms for Lyft, our primary platforms are Instagram and TikTok beyond other testing and learning spaces like LinkedIn, and we are looking to entertain and build community on those platforms, and I think LinkedIn still has this sort of North Star of what am I learning from this, which is a really beautiful thing about it. So very tactically, we are focusing more on static content on LinkedIn than we are on other platforms. Most of the time when we collaborate with creators on Instagram, on TikTok, we're really focusing on video content. So that's a key difference.
That's definitely good to know, and I really want to dive a little bit deeper into that, especially with you, Danielle, because you gave us a little bit of tea there, right? So you said that LinkedIn is becoming Notion's primary platform, and I really want to understand what the decision making was behind that decision.
Yeah, so we have a motion that is kind of a jumble of letters, but it's the B2C2B audience journey. And it's the idea that a lot of users find us through a personal use case and then they bring it to their work. So of course, channels like YouTube, Instagram, those are our channels to reach the personal user. I'm sharing content on food, recipe development, or travel vlogs, things like that, where they're using Notion in their personal lives. But then people who become fans of Notion will then likely bring it to their workplaces as something that they can use with their teams. So LinkedIn is the place that we share those team stories and those teams use cases, because there is a switch in thinking, right? Here's how I use Notion for my personal life, but then also how can I translate that into my work life? So on LinkedIn, it has been very fruitful for us in terms of awareness. I do think too, we've had a lot of success with some fun brand campaigns on LinkedIn that have gotten conversation going, like Notion Faces. So yes, I think as we move towards more of a B2B focus on our team, LinkedIn is just becoming increasingly more important in our marketing strategy.
I love it. And as we talk about Notion Faces, did anyone see the Notion Faces campaign in here? So okay. And how many of you saw the Lyft campaign? Oh, we're gonna work on that. We're gonna do better. We're gonna do better. Okay, we'll talk after this. Okay. And I do have to say, especially as somebody who is a creator, the LinkedIn algorithm is just so vastly different than any other platform, right? And we've touched on this a little bit as well, right? That focus on education and really values-driven content. But I also don't want to get away from the fact that LinkedIn is not just how to make money, right? How do you become a senior manager and then a director and then an associate director, or whatever the leadership ladders look like today, right? So I really want to get an understanding of, as you're choosing creators and who to work with and things of that nature, as we start to see LinkedIn diverge from just thought leadership and education to having some more of that entertaining content, to having more of that all right, we are real life people with real life personalities at work. How are you sourcing creators, and what does the right creator look like for both of your brands?
Yeah, I can go ahead and answer that to start. So we have this North Star at Lyft, which is serve and connect. So it doesn't really matter what platform a creator is on. It's very important to us that they have a sense of purpose with their content, that it is values driven, and that they're offering something educational, community building. Somebody connecting to us means that they might not be the most trendy person at the moment on LinkedIn. That's absolutely the case, because it's a bit of a different demo, a bit of a different audience we're speaking to, but they are really focused on building community, embodying what matters to them, and that's coming through in their content. Like, we want people who care because we care as a brand. So that is something that applies to everybody that we select. As far as sourcing individual creators, we actually don't work with any agencies. We brought everything in-house for our social team. So the selection process is very bespoke. It's very personal. We love building long-lasting relationships with creators. And so for us, we really look as like someone being innovative. Have they done past collaborations that we like? But also, can we integrate into their organic content in a way that will both enrich and entertain the people that are viewing it? I think it's like, if I were to, you know, would my Audi want to engage with this? It's something that I ask myself. So that's important to keep in mind regardless of platform. And I think especially to your point about the algorithm, and you know, you need someone to have a really distinct voice on LinkedIn in order to stand out from the tropes that have developed on the platform as well. So that's something that we're looking for specifically there as well.
Yeah, all great points. I think it always goes back to what our campaign goals are or what program we're working on. So for example, I think one of our bread and butter type audiences on LinkedIn is the startup community. We have a startup program that we share out to, you know, do LinkedIn partnerships on. And I do think that the startup community is very vocal on LinkedIn. They're having a lot of conversations. They want to learn from each other. I think there's also this huge rise in founder-led marketing within the startup community. So, you know, when working on those very niche types of programs, we're always thinking about who are the thought leaders in this space and who are being respected by other founders or decision makers within that community. But then of course, you know, when it comes to something fun like Notion Faces, we wanted to work with people who have, you know, a little bit more fun in their content. They show their real life. And I do think as, you know, people, we are all in the workforce, and I think there is a lot of personality that should be coming through in your content. You're not just a robot behind your computer. I think at the end of the day, I am looking for real people also who are able to share their point of view. We do work with some agencies, so shout out Creator Match and Creator Authority. You're in the audience.
That was a really great shout.
They really do help with sourcing. And I also always say I love an inbound pitch from LinkedIn creators. So if you're a LinkedIn creator, don't be afraid to email and pitch yourself to
shoot your shot.
A turnkey inbound pitch.
Yes.
We love to see
yes.
I love it. I love it. Well, write that down, because if you're not shooting your shot, obviously that's exactly what brands want you to do.
You're leaving money on the table.
Absolutely. And I really want to talk a little bit about something you both touched on, which is kind of like that authenticity, because that's where LinkedIn gets cringe, right? It's not a platform known for authenticity. It's also not a platform known for career conversations that don't kind of border on the cringe, right? Everyone is there to kind of pat each other on the back and like give themselves some sort of self-importance. What does good content look like to your branch, right? Like when you are looking at the types of creators that you work with, what type of content is sticking out to you? Is it content where they are tagging the brands that they are using the most? Or is it content where they are obviously educating but with some sort of entertaining twist? Like what makes good content for you both?
I think it's probably more the latter, and you really hit the nail on the head. Authenticity is key. I think social audiences are very smart, and they can tell if you're being paid to endorse something from a mile away. So on the Lyft side, we're really looking, kind of like the points you made with people, the B2B2C workflow. We're looking for people that genuinely are Lyft super users or just fans of the product or have some sort of personal connection, and chances are they do because of how important getting from place to place is for everyone just living their lives and, you know, moving through their career journeys. So we are looking for people that are able to provide that entertainment value and education on LinkedIn specifically, while not sounding like every other voice. I think that it's important for people to be real about LinkedIn, but not be the trope in, you know, kind of writing clickbait, which some people do on there. It's very interesting to see some LinkedIn writing reminding me a little bit of BuzzFeed. And that's not what we're looking for. I think we're looking for authentic storytelling because that's what's most on brand for us.
Yeah, completely agree. I think the typical social media user can tell when something is not super authentic and the creator doesn't necessarily actually use the brand, and believe me, we can tell too. So I do think it's really, when that content comes through, you can tell the creator actually put work into making sure that their words sound concise and they're sharing meaning, and something with value is really important. I think too, on LinkedIn, it's very easy to fall into the trap of using AI to have your post fall within the format that's going to beat the algorithm, but again, I always like to shy away from those because there's a million of them on your feed at any time. So something I think that always really stands out to the user is important. So a strong visual or a good hook, actually sharing a good story is something I really value.
Yeah. And you know, a dramatic line break sometimes does wonders.
Yes, it does.
Especially before the content gets truncated, right?
Yes.
A good hook.
Yes.
Hooks work on LinkedIn, right? Everybody needs a good hook. And I think that is the perfect segue into my next question, especially for both your brands and kind of like seeing how your brands have shown up on LinkedIn so far and the strategies that you both have been employing on the platform. What can we expect from both of your brands in the future when it comes to working with LinkedIn creators and LinkedIn campaigns?
Yeah, I think, again, we are spending money in this department, so I do think one of my priorities for the next year is really digging into our ICPs and reaching those audiences. We've had the amazing ability to work with so many amazing creators, but I do feel like there's so many more out there that I really want to start immersing myself more in the community, reaching more creators and their audiences. Again, I think video is somewhat on the rise on LinkedIn, so testing out different platforms, different content types, and see what works best for us. Templates is one of my favorite things to incorporate into a partnership with a creator. So actually getting them to share a Notion template or a Notion site with their own, insights or whatever that may be, or their own workflows, something I'm really hoping to increase in the next few months.
Can't wait to see that.
Download them. Click on the link, please.
We're testing learning in this space as well, and so especially on the exec side, building out our execs and our CEO social presence, there's, I think, a stat that over 50% of users are more trusting of a company when their execs have a social presence and an active one that is in touch with what's actually happening on social. So watch this space.
Oh, I love it. Watch this space. Well, I definitely want to give you all an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. These are two of the leading brands who are partnering with creators on LinkedIn right now. So whether you are your own brand, starting your personal brand, I would love to get you, yes, right here. Do we have mics? No? Can you yell? Can you use your outside voice? Yeah. Oh, mics. Okay, great.
I'm looking to build our executive team on LinkedIn. They're very shy. They do not like to be in the spotlight, but I do think that the knowledge that they have, especially in a financial institution space, would help our members and retirees be more trusting of our brand, which is just a retirement system at the end of the day. So how do you pose it to them that it's not a scary place and just do it?
I think sharing examples is really important. When you're able to share case studies, or even just, I'm sure they're busy, so exec summary of a post of another brand that's doing that successfully, that lends some legitimacy to it, and maybe from legacy brands as well. Brands they already know and trust doing that could be demonstrative of it not being a scary space. You could also go in the completely opposite direction and say, hey, no one's going to see this. We're just starting to build this out. So I think you could maybe take a double-sided approach to that, but best of luck. It could be challenging.
Yeah, I understand the fear. I always say when I was trying to sell on LinkedIn, or at the very early stages, we would have a lot of conversations internally about how actually it is a very brand safe platform.
Yes.
People are not going to be saying mean, negative things most likely because their profiles are tied to their professional brand. So it's very different than on Instagram when people are hiding behind a fake profile. So I think in that regard, hopefully that'll help ease a little bit of fear. Something that we're actually testing internally is we have a lot of product launches and things that we're sharing, and our own social channels can only post so much. So how do we actually tap executives or thought leaders within our own company to share the news, because it does feel more authentic and has a third-party voice sharing all of those things. So I do think it's a good tactic to also just build a brand around your own LinkedIn, and then hopefully that will help your leadership sell that in as well. Say, our own brand LinkedIn will see success if you help us get the word out.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh,
Here.
Oh, hi.
Hi. My question is for Danielle. Hi, Danielle.
Hi.
So I'm a fan already. I mean, you know that. So I love your work for Notion Mail and Notion Faces. And my question to you is, how do you balance brand goals with creator authenticity when you're scaling campaigns like these with micro influencers, especially?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our program is a top of funnel awareness program. So we're always looking for, impressions, views, engagement, and web traffic. So I always say, of course, when we're working with creators, I think really genuinely the content that performs really well, the best, is the ones with creators that you have a relationship with. They're the ones that actually use your product. They love your product. So really taking the time to source creators through that way and taking the time to connect with them, meet with them, onboard them to the product. Something like Notion Mail, if they have any questions, our team is always available one-on-one to ask them or to answer them. So I do think when you invest time in a relationship with a creator, it really does pay back in the metrics as well. But then of course, also being able to test and learn, have historical data from repeat partnerships always really helps.
Absolutely.
I'd have to say from the creator side as well, it's important for you as a creator to also gauge your own stats, right?
Yes.
Like make sure you're paying attention to your own engagement rate, like what is your average impressions, and try to maintain kind of your own stats and data so that you can continue to perform as well as possible. Okay.
Hi, I work in the public sector, and I was wondering, how do you sort of, I'm sorry.
This pillar is,
Yeah, I know.
it's all right, come out from behind the pillar.
But I work in the public sector, and I was wondering, how would you navigate building your brand and building that trust with people in the climate that we're in today, where people are sort of distrusting of government or distrusting of the public sector now more than ever?
Yeah, I'm assuming that's a question for me. That's definitely a tricky one. I think your proof really has to be in your product. Like, Lyft really prioritizes safety, and we are customer obsessed, and that shows through in the product experience. And so I think, you can test and learn different ways to reach people through your words, through different static, video, whatever. But the most important thing is going to boil down to your messaging, right? So in order to build trust, you need really clear value props that you can communicate through your marketing levers, whether that's social and beyond, in order for people to realize that you are in fact telling the truth, which can be hard to do on social media in our era of everything that's going on right now. And also, if you're struggling with a certain audience, I would definitely recommend trying to work with influencers. There's a lot of stats that, if you're able to in your sector, there's a lot of research and statistics behind the fact that people are a lot more trusting of individuals than brands. And so if you have the leeway to do that, it could be worth seeing if that is a bit more successful.
I think we have time for one more.
Hi. This question is for the whole panel. I work in the industrial space, and I feel like I have a lot of trouble locating those very niche micro influencers. And it seems like a lot of the times when I do find like a micro influencer, they're part of another industrial company, and they're usually very product savvy. So my question is, how do I go about finding those niche people?
Yeah, I would lean into your own organic channels and see who's engaging with your content, even if you have any public-facing channels that you could even get the ask out to see if there are any micro-influencers or creators who'd be interested in being part of your community. I think really digging into who's in your comment section or who's in your messages is a great place to start.
Yeah.
I would also have to say that LinkedIn is the perfect platform for you to become the sourcer, right? So this is a great opportunity for you to use your own LinkedIn to say, hey, like this is what I'm looking for, like people who have this dedicated interest to this area. If there's one thing that I can say about LinkedIn is that many users are on the platform not necessarily talking about what they do in their everyday work, right? Because sometimes we have intersectional interests that don't necessarily align with what we're doing in our 9 to 5. So sometimes we do need that person to say, hey, like, if you have a general interest in this, would like to talk about this, you know, and create content in this area, come and talk to me because we'd love to work with you either as an influencer, if you have your own platform, or even UGC, because UGC is also a really great opportunity for you to work with creators as well.
I think that's a good point, kind of going back to what you said about cringe. Like sometimes I second guess myself of putting content out there on LinkedIn because of the status quo of what it usually is. So
Yes.
thank you.
Of course.
And don't be afraid to pay attention to what competitors are doing too.
Yeah.
Their exclusivity will be up eventually.
Yes, it's not forever.
Thank you, ladies.
Oh.
I think that's all.
I'll be quick, I promise. Just one quick question.
Go for it.
So I work for a talent management agency, and we are always looking for new ways to both showcase the successes of the agency, but also we'd love to even be able to attract new creators. And as we're discussing today, a lot of creators are now using LinkedIn. You know, the influencer culture has really hit the platform. So curious if you have any suggestions as to how, as a talent management agency, we can position ourselves to even reach new creators that we might be interested in adding to our roster.
Yeah, I think that you need to take a very multi-channel approach to that. I think that you might be surprised. Like, I think there's a person on TikTok who's an influencer that has millions of followers that added me on LinkedIn like 2 years ago. And she doesn't have engagement on LinkedIn that matches her following on other platforms yet, but she's on there and she's trying. So I would take a wide breadth approach here of, you know, there might be people within your world that are more prominent on other platforms that have that built-in audience and community that have a lot of potential and could use your help, but are still growing on LinkedIn, and maybe where you have a bit of a stronger voice on those other platforms can be something you then translate to LinkedIn. And I think that Tameka and Danielle both made really good points to the previous question that could also apply to this.
I actually was going to say exactly that as well. Like, we are seeing a large influx of like TikTok and Instagram creators who are now flocking to the platform because that's where the brands are, right? Like, that's where you can directly talk to the brands. So that could be a really great opportunity for you to kind of, in your current roster of creators, say, hey, like, is anybody thinking about building on LinkedIn? Another thing is that creators have creator communities. They know people who know people who know people, and that is a really great way to tap into their little black book. Don't feel like you have to do the work yourself. Like, really be able to lean into that community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, creators are all friends with each other. That's
Yes.
a really important thing to say.
And credibility goes a long
It
long
does.
way.
Yeah, they all talk to each other.
Are we? I think we might actually be done now.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.